you guys know what eminent domain is?
I have no idea.
Eminent domain. Oh, goodness. I have absolutely no idea.
I own it.
Does that have to do with the internet?
Actually, I'm a tourist, so I don't really know.
What is what?
Eminent domain.
What does that mean?
I'm thinking domain. That's just my domain. I own it. But I forgot it's them that own it. My bad. You're right. Eminent domain. Dang. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm anti-eminent domainers.
Hey, here I am at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, beautiful Hollywood, California. You know, 10 years ago, this wasn't such a great neighborhood. There's a lot of drug dealing going on, a lot of hookers. Tourists didn't feel safe walking around here. But back then, some people took chances and invested their money here in Hollywood and helped turn the whole area around. Now it's pretty much a safe place to be and a lot of tourists. And that's in credit to these people who were willing to take a risk 10 years ago to invest their money right here in Hollywood. One of these risk takers was Craig Traeger. We caught up with Craig at his bar, The Well, where he talked about another bar he used to own called Daddy's.
1995, Hollywood was dormant, and it was the same pretty much up until about 5-6 years ago. A lot of t-shirt stores, not much activity. 1995, we went in there and there was nothing open on Vine.
In the very beginning, it was rough. I was pretty much there 5-6 nights a week by myself with a couple books in hand because I wouldn't see a single customer until about 11:30 because we were hell-bent on making sure that it was word of mouth that made us popular.
Eventually, Daddy's became a cool place to hang out.
I had celebrities that were famous, and I had people that are now famous. And I think what a lot of people really loved about Daddy's was that we don't have guest lists, we don't do the velvet rope, which enables people to have anonymity wherever they go, and it's really hard for those people. So they know that Daddy's was the safe haven.
You'd always see somebody that you like to see and that you like to talk to.
Customers may have liked Daddy's, but the city decided that it had to go.
Initially, the way we found out was we got a letter in the mail to the bar that's basically invited us and all the business people in Hollywood to come see a development project that was going to really be an amazing project for Hollywood.
Dennis Cavallari is vice president at Legacy Partners, the company that's redeveloping the Hollywood and Vine area.
It includes 300 W hotel rooms, 150 W condos, 375 luxury apartments, and then about 50,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor.
And there was these beautiful models, and it looked amazing. As I'm looking at this project, I noticed that it's on Vine, it encompasses the whole block of Vine, Selman, all the way around. And there's no Daddy's. I mean, my bar's gone. So I went up to the people from the Legacy and the CRA, and I said, it's a great project, but what about me? And they basically really just kind of like blew me off. Really, like, I didn't matter.
You know, the great thing about America is that once you own property, you own it. Am I right? And you can do anything you want with that property. You can build a house on it, a business. You can plant flowers, grow daisies, whatever you want to do with it. It's your property. You own it. And the only way somebody can take your property is if they steal it. Am I right? That's why the government invented eminent domain.
I didn't know what eminent domain meant, honestly. I never even heard the word.
I think it's when you have some property and the government can come and take it from you or something to that effect. They'll just walk in and say, okay, I'm going to give you this amount of money, and whether you want it or not, they've made a decision that they need this property for something they're working on. Eminent domain.
Traditionally, governments only used eminent domain to build roads, schools, and other public projects. But now, cities routinely use eminent domain to transfer property to developers in order to build things like fancy condos and hotels, which they hope will generate more tax revenue for the city.
The last night that we had been informed of what our last date was going to be, they put a MySpace thing for months before that, Save Daddy's, and hundreds and hundreds of people would go on there and talk about what they loved about Daddy's. And I got to really see all the relationships that I wasn't even aware of. People who had met, people who had got married. I rented a photo booth and we put it inside. We pretty much let some people take some things as You know, some people wanted the bar stool that they sat on for all those years. It was one of the best parties I've been to. Everybody, when they left, wrote on the outside of the building some things that were nice to us to the bar and some nice things that really weren't too nice to the city.
What do I say to a guy like Craig? Unfortunately, I think it's a situation where he needs to go out and look for a new location. The landowners that sold their property in here realized some huge gains. The numbers we paid for the land in here are record numbers for Hollywood. You know, from where we sit in our vantage point, we're really thinking that everybody is to benefit from this redevelopment project.
It wasn't a win for me. It wasn't a win for probably most of the 30 business owners. It's definitely not a win for Herb Clark, who owned the property of Daddy's, because he had had that building in his family for so many years, believing in the redevelopment of Hollywood, believing that he one day would sell it and make money in all those years, and instead they set market rate. He gets what they tell him he's going to get, and he goes.
This is where Daddy's used to be. About 30 other businesses were also forced out.
Without eminent domain in place or the threat of eminent domain, I seriously doubt that this property, this development could take place.
Isn't there a better way? You know, someplace where everybody could just get along? Well, yeah, there is. It's just down the street from the happiest place on earth in Anaheim, California. We spoke with Anaheim Mayor Kurt Pringle about his innovative approach to redevelopment.
What we're trying to do is just make sure we have a proper and respectful model for development.
Much of Anaheim used to look like these industrial buildings, but recently all kinds of fancy new developments have been breaking ground. Anaheim's getting the same kind of revitalization Hollywood wants, but it's using a different process.
A lot of folks along the path have said you have to use eminent domain to develop a older area. Others would say you have to have a very firm set of zoning requirements, and that's the only way that people will build in certain areas. Here in Anaheim, we've actually taken the opposite approach, and in fact, when it comes to zoning, we have given flexibility to developers to decide, do they want to build industrial or residential, maybe mixed use with some commercial.
Anaheim's redevelopment plan started years after Hollywood's, but it's progressing much faster. Folks are already moving into stadium lofts, and A-Town isn't far behind.
A-Town is going to have about 4,000 homes, all the way from low-rise to high-rise, as well as about 250,000 square feet of retail.
Emil Haddad works for Lennar, the company that's building A-Town.
We assembled 30 properties from 30 different owners. We did all of that through negotiation.
The big A-Town complex will be located right next to this smaller business. But what's really cool is the smaller business wasn't forced out. And that's good news for owner Chuck Neiman.
Lennar's representatives did approach me on the property, and they gave me what would be a fair price for the property, but it didn't cover any of our costs that we would incur. Our property taxes would go up by about $20,000 a year to buy a new building at today's market prices. We'd have the cost of relocation, the moving costs. Probably the biggest cost is loss of business and taking our people away from what they do every day to plan and activate the move.
Many other cities would have forced Chuck's company to leave.
If this was in some other city and they took our property by eminent domain, I feel it's very possible that we would have gone out of business.
And not using eminent domain, we are seeing great results within our community.
With regards to the city of Anaheim and their incentives for redevelopment in and around Angel Stadium, I'm not that familiar with what they're doing over there. But from what I can understand from a distance, it sounds like it's a very creative approach to redevelopment.
I think what we're doing here can be replicated. It all depends on if there's a will to do it.
It's a very, very difficult thing, and like I said previously, there's no right and wrong in eminent domain.
Eminent domain is like cancer. Eminent domain for us was completely like you've been diagnosed, you don't know how long you have to live, there's a little shred of hope that somebody might legally win, and you're just waiting to die.
Hey, so it's 2007 right now, and now it's an empty lot. But who knows, maybe 20 years from now, just when the W Hotel is making a profit, somebody with deeper pockets is going to come along, steal their land with eminent domain, and build something better.